Good evening. I'm Enarida Lord and welcome to Churikua.
Here in Woolpit, life has been somewhat hard. The wars among the nobles have brought famine, although according to some merchants and minstrels who passed through and tell us what had happened, we are better off than other villages, thanks to the fact that we belong to the Abbey of Bury St. Edmunds, which we suppose help us avoid suffering too much. But I must tell you how, a few years ago, the children with green skin, wearing strange clothes, and speaking a strange and unintelligible language arrived in our village. I remember when they arrived, a shepherd found them and tried to speak with them, but the little they managed to say was incomprehensible. So, using gestures, which they apparently understood, he took them to Richard the Calm, a landlord known for his kind heart, since after some hardships I had endured, he had taken me on as foreman of his lands. He took them in and called for the priest. He tried to speak with them in our language, in Welsh, in Latin, but to no avail. Not even the priest, a highly educated man of God, knew what their language was. Nevertheless, arrangements were made for them to stay at his home, provided with food and under his protection. Days and weeks went by, and they refused to eat anything. At the same time, they were being taught our language. They learned little by little, but when we offered them food, they wouldn't take it. They barely accepted water, but still refused everything else. We brought them bread, eggs, but they wouldn't accept anything. They began to lose weight and grow increasingly ill, coughing constantly, until one day we arrived with some of the harvest, and Heather, my wife, took a few broad beans, placed them in a bag, and went inside to leave them with Lord the Count's cook. As soon as the children there saw them, they pounced on them and began to eat, although this was very unusual for us since they weren't even cooked, given how thin, listless, and sick the children were, not to mention the greenish tint to their skin. It was a sight. It was a sign to everyone of a miracle. We burst into laughter, and Lord the Calm told us God wants these children to live. They went on like this for several weeks, accepting only broad beans as food. The children continued to learn our language until they could speak well enough to tell us about where they came from. According to what they told us, they said the following.
We come from San Martin, a very green land with sky like sunset. We always out in fields tending cows. We heard strange sound. We enter a cave. We walked and we heard bells and arrived here.
After asking them a few questions, their answers were always the same. The children described the land but never said where it was. Little by little, they began to accept other foods. They started eating bread and milk along the beans, and later they began to eat meat and other vegetables until they were finally eating everything we offered them. Gradually, the green color disappeared from their skin. Months later, the children agreed to be baptized, and a few days later, the boy fell ill and died. His sister, still frail, was deeply saddened. But as time went on, she made a full recovery, learned the language, and out of gratitude asked Lord the Calm if she could work for him. He agreed and made her a servant in his household. Shortly afterward, she fell in love with a man who had arrived from King's Lynn. She married him and left this place, which she considered her second home, second only to the land of Saint Martin. Sometimes I wonder, why did she never speak of this land again? Could it be a place underground? Or why did they never have so much life? At least for me, what strikes me most is that they never mention being in danger in that land where they were born. Now then, how do you imagine the land of Saint Martin to be?